Hi there, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Keyforge Premier League Season 2. We're currently looking at the group stages, and we have the first round game between Tuck, who is an esteemed member of Team Screech Bomb, our technical support, and Mentol. In a change from usual here as well, I don't have my usual commentary partner of Callum. We thought, commentating on people in your own group, not the best. Want to keep the league as kind of like honest as possible. So instead, I have Rufino commentating with me today.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. Looking forward to kind of a bit of a change of pace. Always nice to have some different people to commentate with. Been commentating with Kate yesterday, so yeah, it's nice to kind of have a bit of a change of pace.
Yeah, I enjoyed the games yesterday and enjoyed Kate's commentary.
Yeah, game two of Kiwi versus Lapoire is definitely one to seek out. A truly incredible game. It's one of the best Keyforge I've seen played, I must say.
Yeah, I agree. It was I think it's a good game to watch just to learn how to play against a certain archetype of deck.
Definitely, I would agree. But today we are looking at, as I said, our esteemed Tuck versus Mentol, and we're going to start with a bit of a deck chat, and we're going to look at Tuck's deck first. Now, we are recording over some pre-recorded footage. We don't know the result or who wins, but we do know the bans, and we know that Kavushaloi, Sworn of Aerodent, has been banned. So, kind of looking at this deck, what makes you think this will be the one banned, Rufino?
Yeah, I think it's the high amber control matched with the efficiency.
Mm.
You're going to be taken off check pretty much all the time. The Arise is just so nasty in this deck as well.
Yeah,
There's 9 disc creatures there.
there is
They're going
indeed.
to be coming back, and with a fast deck, you might even be seeing that happening more than once in a game.
Yeah, and with the kind of like the charrettes and in a way to kind of like take you potentially to zero ember, me us bring out the terror too. There's a lot of ways to, kind of be getting those terrors off, get yourself a lot of ember while also stopping your opponent forging.
Yeah, and you've also got some key cost stuff and the interdimensional graft, which is gonna hurt you quite a lot at the wrong time.
No, definitely, I definitely agree with
Like
that.
with the spider, that you can just build amber up on the spider, and then when it dies, just graft.
Yeah, no, completely. And also like kind of time traveler with with a library access too, always going to be a very nasty combination to see.
Yeah, if that pops early, you basically just lose the game.
Yeah, exactly. I've decks like that I've many times won a game precisely because of that. But yeah, let's talk about the decks that are going to be played today. So we'll start today with Sorrow of Vapid Zone Boulevard. This is a mass mutation deck. We see Logos, Saurian, and Shadows.
And the headline is the double Dark Amber Vault, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And only 8 mutants, but with the 2 Dark Amber Vaults, that means you're potentially going to be drawing 2 cards per mutant and cycling through this deck at a rate of knots here.
Yeah, the 14 efficiency is maybe even low if as long as you get them out early. But I imagine that if you find one, you're going to find the other one pretty soon afterwards.
Yeah, and there's also like an auto encoder as well, just so you can get through even quicker. Like every house has a very fast way of card draw. I'm actually surprised only 14 efficiency. I'd expect it to be much higher than that.
Yeah, with the encoder, the Zenzi, and all the eight mutants that are going to be drawing you potentially 2 cards in the game.
Yeah, just looking at the efficiency there, I suppose. Yeah, interesting. Only auto encoder only giving 0.85 for efficiency, which seems a lot lower than I'd expect. But even outside of that, you've got some just excellent cards here. So you've got like Citizen Tricksters, great ones just for a bit of steel. Faust the Great to increase that key cost. And then cards in Shadows just to delay things like a Miasma Bomb and a Bone Nithing for a bit of steel in Shadows too.
I don't actually know what Legion's March does.
I've not seen it either. It's for the remainder of the turn after you use a dinosaur creature, deal 1 damage to each non-dinosaur creature.
Interesting. I've never seen that card before.
I've never seen that card before either, apparently. Only 781 registered on decks of Keyforge with a 46.1 win rate, which might be why you've not seen it very often.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a fairly useful way to get rid of small creatures on the other side.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just kind of like very much of a, you kind of need to have Saurian creatures down, and then generally if you've got Saurian creatures down, you've got pretty good ways of just destroying things anyway.
Yeah.
Another one, just a rare that we'll talk about briefly, is Cyberclone, one you might not see too often, but it is purge another creature until Cyberclone leaves play. It has power equal to the purge creature's power, and gains like creatures' armor, keywords, and traits. So it doesn't say gain kind of activated abilities like action or reap abilities, but it does kind of gain like say elusive or taunt or things like that.
Yeah, and that's one of the best cards in the set, isn't it? Like removing whichever creature you want
Mm. And
is
yeah,
just very
exiling it
handy.
too, purging it too. So kind of not you're never going to be seeing it again either. There's definitely some creatures you're very happy
Yeah,
to
and
get rid of.
you're getting around destroyed effects as well with that.
Entirely, yeah. With kind of a lot of kind of Worlds Collide Saurians, especially very good against that, and Mass Mutation Sanctum can be very good too if you've got that in combination with Saurians. Um, yeah, strong deck. Big. I think you'd be looking to kind of get on the board early and kind of like dominate that board and just be able to like steal away from your opponent and just build up Ember as quickly as possible, and then cycle once you've got those Dark Ember Vaults out.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll now look at Z, who gratuitously exposes the moon. This is some Worlds Collide Saurians, I'm going to say, because looking at that Saurian house, that is the first thing I should draw him for. Tuck is a man who I know is a very big fan of the Spiral Rex combo, and this is a very good example of that with 2 Spirals and a Cincinnatus Rex and a whole slew of Saurian creatures to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I would probably ban this almost every time. I just do not enjoy Spiral Rex, and I know there's a way to play around it because Rex has to fight, but I just fight once it pops, it's almost game over unless you've got one of the key cards that can stop it.
Yeah, I think that the people say, oh well, if you just don't put anything on the board, then it's Cincinnatus Rex is fine. But it's like unless you're playing a specific deck that fits into that archetype, then it's really hard to do that. But
yeah, it looks quite frightening, this deck.
Yeah, you look at the logos as well, and it's kind of again just kind of got everything you want from a Worlds Collide logos. You've got the Tautau Vapors, you've got Twin Bolt for a bit of kind of hitting some wards and stuff off, Hologramophone to ward your own things, and Edie. Hide and Vellum, very useful cards. Discombobulator for just like stopping that steal, a bit of kind of like tech kind of thing.
Yeah, Discombobulator is one of those cards you're always happy to see in a deck you already like. Like it's just so nice to be able to go into check and pop that down, and just especially if you're playing someone with a steel heavy deck, you just know they now have to focus on removing that creature. So if you've got something big, you can stick it on like the Legionary or the Centurion. You're just making their turn be focused about removing the Discombobulator rather than what they actually want to do.
Yeah, one thing I've done in the past, which is always quite, if your opponent say has a big, like a lot of shadows, kind of like reap and steal creatures, is put a Discombobulator on a Harbinger of Doom, and you either have to go, okay, I'm going to kill my whole board, or I can't steal, and that can often be a really real tough choice for an opponent. Yeah. And this as well, very nice, double Infernus, always very happy to see, especially with an Exhume too, to just kind of bring that back again. So easy ways to kind of like
a
purging
lot of
6
good
cards.
targets for the Exhume in this deck as well.
Yeah, Edie is a very good one. Igor can sometimes be quite helpful in that sense, but kind of a Syrian Legion and Theros Centurion too. So I think this deck just all round is very strong. It's kind of like it's got the Ember control from the Dis, it's got the speed and the logos, and then it's got that kind of like dominant kind of generating Ember in the Saurians that can really kind of like pop off on a big turn.
Yeah, it's got high creature control, high Amber control, not crazy high expected Amber, but enough creatures that you can get around it. The only thing it's lacking is the artifact control.
Yes, and I think that's the thing that kind of all 3 of Tuck's decks are lacking, is maybe the thing that you kind of decided not to take here. The only artifact control across all 3 is Strange Gizmo, which, and the Snudge as well, which Strange Gizmo not the best artifact control, because you kind of, firstly you have to destroy your whole board, and secondly, your opponent kind of can help decide when you use that, so not ideal. But
yeah, and Snudge also not ideal, because if it's something really game changing like Quixel or Heart of the Forest, they can just play it again next turn.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think some interesting decks here from Tuck, some very, very strong decks, but we'll look over at Mentol's decks now. And the deck that was banned for Mentol that Tuck decides to ban is Shan, Matriarch de Rocher Malin. And I think the thing that you've got to see here is the Etna's Jar, maybe the big reason for that.
Yeah, I do wonder if it's worth always trying to bring an Eaton's Jar deck into a Triad lineup, because you're going to draw so many bans with it, because there's a lot of high-level decks that they get their consistency from having multiples of very important cards.
Exactly,
like Tuck's deck with the triple Ludo. If he lets Shan get played, that Jar, you're going to say Ludo, and that deck almost stops functioning.
Yeah, because you then can't really afford to do the big the big Cincinnatus Rex play, because at that
Yeah.
point you're going to be all that ember back to your opponent, which not really what you're hoping to do. The other thing to look at, I think, in Shan as well is the borrow. And if you're playing that double Dav deck, I know from playing, I have a deck with a Dav. If someone borrows it and they have mutants in their deck, it's just so crushing, because not only are you losing that ability to kind of like to have that Dav, you're then giving your opponent it, and it's such a powerful card.
Yeah, and this deck has 7 mutants and borrow, so if they take one of those Davs, it's a huge swing. And then once they get the efficiency from the Dav, they might draw back into borrow and take the other one.
Yeah, very easily, and it's got a lot of speed here. You've got, say, Ultra Gravitron, which is surprisingly easy to play, and kind of like that Archive 5 cards is just brutal for getting through your deck, and a very nice one. So I think I can definitely see why this was banned. But let's look at the decks that weren't banned. We'll look at Bertrand, Inventeur de la Jungle Ardente, which is a Age of Ascension deck. Not something that you see very much outside the kind of Jenka and kind of Brig and Drummernor archetypes, but we see none of those three things here.
Yeah, it's rare to see Age of Ascension at such a high rating as well without that stuff.
Indeed.
But you can see why it's got a high score. The Quad Ronnie on its own is going to be just so useful, but you combine that with Archimedes' 3 helper bots.
Yeah, I can imagine definitely putting Archimedes and then playing helper bot Ronnie Wristlocks either side of it. Could be a really strong one, definitely.
Yeah, there's so many little combos in this deck. This is exactly the sort of deck I like to play. And even the Untamed is the least interesting house, but even then you've got Soldiers to Flowers and Chota, which is going to let you burst for a key.
Yep, Full Moon as well with that too. I mean, not the best archiving to set it up. You know, you kind of got the lab work and the Jar Goggle and Research Smoko, which can kind of archive with that, but not the easiest. But you still, I think, definitely going to have the ability to get that Chota Hazri key off with that at some point, just by kind of like playing the shadows and the logos first to build up.
Yeah, a lot of the time in decks like this, I'll put the Chota under the Jar Goggle and just hope it gets killed at some point and try and get specific stuff into my archive that way.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Pose Pixies, which is maybe one of the cards that causes the most misplays I see on TCO.
Yeah, a bit of a double-edged sword in this deck with so much steal. You know, you got to be careful maybe with that Pose Pixies. You don't want to turn off your own stealing, but I suppose with Throwing Stars, Nerve Blast, Life for a Life, you got plenty of ways in Shadows to get rid of that Pose Pixies if you need to. So it's not too much of a problem.
Is it double-sided or is it single-sided?
Oh, from your pool?
Your pool, yeah.
I thought it was double-sided. That Pose Pixie is even better than I thought then.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's not quite as good now Mass Mutations is out, because obviously 1-power creatures, their survival rate has gone down quite a bit.
Yeah, with all like the damage icons running around, it's something I've definitely seen as a big fan of Restringantus. Restringantus has also become a lot less effective, and I'm very sad about
that. Yeah, Pose, the amount of games on TCO I've had where someone plays like a Too Much to Protect and then misses the Pose and then concedes. Or if they capture a load off you, they're actually capturing from the common pool and they're essentially just giving you amber.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the kind of thing that's easy not to notice, especially in TCO, and then you're just kind of looking like, I've made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, there's nothing. It works really well with stuff that pumps up the value, which normally Untamed has, but I can't see anything in this deck that will allow them to defend it. Really, there's no taunt.
No, not unfortunately not. No, not even a Grove Keeper either to give it a bit of extra power. Pampaka Anger though, actually, is the one thing that could make it up to 3 power, so make it a bit more survivable.
3, so an elusive 3 is pretty hard to get rid of sometimes.
Also Duskwitch as well, another very powerful 1-power creature. Mega and elusive, your creature to play ready, could definitely be very strong with things like help bots as well.
Yeah, there's no huge reap effects in the deck that's going to take advantage of, but even just getting a reap off all your creatures is just going to make any turn a lot more valuable.
Very much so. And we'll finally look at the Agent of Ratcot, which is, once again, Worlds Collide Saurians, and I'm a very, very happy boy here. Because you look at this and you got, I mean, the big combo is obviously 6 Ember Tyrannosaurus and Tribute. You know, often just a way to take 4 Ember off your opponent and get 6 Ember from 5 Ember rather, because it's not an Ember on 6 Ember Tyrannosaurus from just from just the Emberoth tribute alone, along
Yeah,
with a
especially if
golden
you can do it
spiral
on
too.
Pterodactyl, and it's a creature you don't even care about dying.
Well, that's very hurtful to Pterodactyl. I'm a big fan of Pterodactyl. I'd be very upset if my Pterodactyl died. Thank you very much.
It's something I wouldn't care about.
But no, I fully, yeah, I think, especially in this deck, Pterodactyl, not the best card. So yeah, you could be very happy to get your tribute onto that, golden spiral it, and then 6 Tyrannosaurus
And
it for a
even like
cheeky.
Valiant Strike, Chant of Hubris, there's a lot you can do to make that just worse and worse for your opponent.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is a Saurian where if it can get going, then you can be really fierce with it. Also, Triterian Legionary means you could potentially award a thing before you play the 6 Emperor, and mean it doesn't even die when you get all that Ember.
And if you don't get the 6 Emperor in time and you've captured all the Amber, they could get it back and then you hit them with too much to protect.
Exactly.
So they can't even just get all that back because that still could be a risk.
Indeed, indeed. So also looking at the logos here, just a lot of key cost increase. You've got double E-dies, you've got a universal key lock here, and you've got an information exchange just to be taken a bit of Ember too.
Yeah, and those E-dies again, if you archive it too much to protect with an E-die, you're basically laughing.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
when they reduce the cost is when you can pull your archive and hit them.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only real archiving though is in those two E-dies, so not going to have the biggest key cost increases from the E-die that you kind of see in other kind of like decks with a lot of archiving or a lot of E-dies, but still getting kind of like potentially up to say like a cost of 13 with a too much to protect running around. Those E-dies become must-kill targets for your opponent.
Yeah, and you can do fun stuff with the too much protect, like play the Brand first, play the too much protect, and then take a bit more with the Ronnie.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I think the Shadows is nice. It's kind of got some like really useful tools, but it's not the best Shadows you'll see. You know, with your Hawk, you too much to protect, your Ronnie, Customs Office. Actually, I didn't even notice that, but very good card. Your opponent must pay you 1 in order to play an artifact. This is a great turn 1 play often.
Yeah, it just puts your opponent in a difficult place where they have to work out the value of an artifact to them over the course of the rest of the game, especially if you can end your turn on 5 Amber and they're going to have to give you a key to play an artifact. It makes it very difficult.
Indeed, it does. Okay, so we kind of had a look through all of the decks here. Who are you going to kind of predict to win this game, Ruth? You know, just before we go into it, what are your thoughts?
It's a tough one because I think a lot of the decks, it's all going to be about the draws. So if you see those Davs early on that Dav deck, I think that wins just because of how efficient it becomes. There is artifact control in these decks, but removing both the Davs is going to be tough. Whereas if we see something like the Archimedes live for a while or the Duskwitch live for a while in Bertrand, I think that's going to be very hard to get past. Yeah, I actually don't know. They've all got sort of combos that if they pop, they're going to be very hard to come back from.
I'd agree with that. I'm gonna say that my boy Tuck is gonna take the win here. Screech Bomb Pride. But no, I think when you look at like say Z, who gratuitously exposes the moon, you've got the ability in that to kind of like just dominate the board in a lot of matchups, and kind of both decks have that. And I think being able to kind of like just like if Tuck takes a bit slow at the start, gets set up and just goes right, I'm gonna like get set up as much as possible, and then just kind of power out and keep control, then he's going to be in a really good situation. So that's why I'm going to go with Tuck here.
Yeah, I feel like we might even know in some of the matches fairly early on how it's going to go just from the opening few turns. If either deck gets their key stuff, then I think we can make pretty good calls on how the match is going to go. But we'll see what happens.
We will indeed. Okay, right. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you in the game portion of the episode. Hi everyone, welcome to the game portion of the episode. We have Mentol on the top of the screen playing Bertrand, Inventeur de la Jungle, and we have Tuck on the bottom of the screen playing Z, who gratuitously. We're seeing now just the usual pleasantries getting out of the way, and we are ready to go as we see both players drawing up their opening hands. Will we see any mulligans here? Of course, we are playing with closed hands here, which means that we just have to speculate wildly rather than normally where we can look at what's in their hands and kind of theorize what we'd be doing.
Yeah, I imagine Tuck's probably looking for the spiral, right?
You've got to think so, exactly. But yeah, we see both players happy with their opening hands, neither player mulliganing, and we see Mentol going with the logos first, lab work, just get that archive off.
Nice opener, yeah, gives you a good second turn.
Exactly. And yeah, we are seeing these Saurians coming out from Tuck here. The Centurion, oof, immediate ward by
Big
the
board straight
Tri-City.
away, yeah. It's one of those cards that can get out of hand if you can't deal with it.
Exactly. And I don't have Mentol's deck open in front of me. Does Mentol have a way of dealing with the Centurion? I didn't remember seeing like a Lights Out or a Nature's Call.
So Bertrand, it's only wipe his strange gizmo. Oh, it's got Nature's Call, yeah.
It does have
But
Nature's
it's going
Call.
to be, I think it's going to be tough too. If it's warded, remove the ward and then Nature's Call. It's going to take a few turns to set that up.
Okay. Yeah, we can see the.
Wormhole into Dusk Witch.
Now, I've got to think that Mentol presumably played all the Logos cards first
Yeah,
in making sure
like
that if it got Dusk Witch, that he was fine with that being the last card. But obviously, we're not sure here. Can't see his hand, but I've got to think.
I think when you know a deck as well as presumably Mentol knows this one,
yeah,
that's something you account for when you wild Wormhole.
Exactly. And when we see the Discombobulator on that Centurion, got to be Tuck's be very happy to have that out.
That is going to nullify a lot of what Bertrand wants to do.
Yeah, with 4 Ronnies, unless Tuck has a way of getting rid of that, then Mentol is going to be in trouble. But we are going to see, though, that Dusk Witch going off because not managed to kill it.
Yeah, Dusk Witch, the longer it's alive for, the less likely you're going to win the game, really.
Exactly. See a Dana in the Reap, and we see the first check of the game, which is Mentol.
That's happened very quickly.
And there's the Nature's Call.
Nature's Call.
So I maybe just knock off the ward from Centurion. And
there was a choice. Well, it's taunted, right?
Yeah.
So I guess there's no way to really do it. But yeah, Dusk Witch and Nature's Call is a pretty brutal combo because you can return stuff to your hand, replay it, and reap again.
Yeah, I just would have thought you maybe would use the Nature's Call to knock off the ward from the Centurion. I'd be tempted just so, you kind of has to take some more damage. But I guess at the point where you can't then kill it, you just kind of like, well, there's not much I can do here. We're just going to have to leave this and have this just as be part of our life now. We've adopted a Centurion and there's not much we can do with it.
I think it's possible Mentol's just decided to live with it and figures that the board they've got set up will be able to just outpace whatever Tuck's doing.
Yeah, and getting that extra 2 Ember from bringing back the Donna and the Pampaka and replaying them, just valuing that higher than the... but we have Orb of Invidious, so...
Could have done with that a turn ago.
Definitely could have done, yeah.
Imagine we're seeing the Wild Wormhole and the
Nature's Call.
Nature's Call go, yeah.
Dendrix coming down, but a Draining Touch, got to assume that's going to go on that Dusk Witch there.
Which would be mad to do anything else.
No, hits the Jar Goggle. I'm surprised at that. I would have assumed Dusk Witch was... Oh, the Strange Gizmo, of course. Knowing the Strange Gizmo is going to go off and destroy everything.
Yes, it doesn't actually matter.
And wanting to kill the Jar Goggle, so the card under Jar Goggle doesn't get played on Mentol's turn.
Yeah, that's a good move.
And we do see the Life for a Life does take down that Centurion. We thought it was unkillable, but Mentol got it dead.
Yeah, the Gizmo removes the ward, and then...
Yeah, and then he had the Sucker Punch and the Life for a Life to kill it. Sucker Punch, really interesting card, actually. One you want to kind of only printed in AOA, but an alpha card that just does 2 damage and returns to your archive if you can kill a thing. Like, really helpful card, I found.
Yeah, I think it's very useful. It's one of those cards that can do a lot of work in a game. It's a shame to see it go when you don't get to archive it.
Yeah. We are going to see Mentol Forge's second key here, and not looking great for Tuck here.
This has gone very quickly.
Yeah, that Dusk Witch coming out early just without any way to be destroyed, I think, was really problematic for Tuck. And Mentol has taken full advantage of that.
Yeah, Tuck's got the spiral down, but I think even if he hits Rex at this point, he's in a bad spot.
It's in a bad spot, but I think it's not impossible to come back from this at all. I think there's still we are going to see the Twin Bolts. I imagine hitting the Archimedes, but maybe just put some damage on the Nox. I don't think you want Helpbot or Ronnie going back to archive.
Yeah,
which we
can't
do see.
Archive creatures as useful as that.
We have an Thorium Plasmate to move Ronnie. I maybe would have Thorium Plasmated the Archimedes first, and then you could have killed both the Helpbot and the Ronnie. Would have been what I've been tempted to do. And we are going to see that Sucker Punch. Yep, just remove the ward again. Not going to the archive, but useful bit of damage, bit of Ember, and a Life for a Life here. Ronnie Risk Locks, get rid of.
Those Life for a Life, because you don't care about the Ronnie staying alive. It's nice to get reaps off it, but it's done its job by the time it's on the board.
Exactly, yeah. And Mentol sitting pretty on 3 Ember, Tuck with 5 here. But both players have kind of been getting through the decks quite quickly. You know, we're on turn 6. Both players kind of drawn through 2/3 of their deck at this point. And we do see the disc coming down, Tuck picking up his archive. Must have something juicy in there, and it is a Festering Touch, clearing the board.
Actually, a lot of the time, Festering Touch isn't very useful, but that because of Nox's power dropping once Alphabot dies, he's been able to knock off both creatures.
Yeah, I'm deciding not to play the Gleeful Mayhem. Happy just going to that 6. Oh, we're going to see the full moon here. Are we going to see the Chota come out?
Be a real problem.
I think we might. And we see the Post Pixies, the Marmo Swarm. Is this going to be no Chota though?
Still check for key 3.
Tuck still in it, but very precarious here as he gets his first key though.
No, we've got Infernus, so it's going to go on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, Infernus.
But you've got when you've got a Chota in the other deck and 3 untamed creatures on the board, you're always in a bad place.
Yeah, and also got to be careful here of that Post Pixies, meaning stuff like interesting actually. I'm just thinking, I forget the name of it, Malison's effect on Post Pixies, because it captures from your opponent's pool. I don't think Post Pixies effect. Does Post Pixies effect still work or not?
I think it would, yeah, because
okay.
Post Pixies is your own pool and it's still capturing from that pool, right?
Indeed. But yeah, so I think just fine with it though, just putting an Ember on Marmo Swarm. So, you know, still getting an Ember out of it, but you're going to see a Reap for the Marmo Swarm with Soldiers of Flowers. Oh, and there's the Chota, game 1.
That was always likely to happen at that point, unfortunately.
Exactly. I think Mentol got a fair wind there, and kind of like managing to. I think getting to get rid of that discombobulator was possibly the biggest thing. I think without that, Tuck kind of runs away with this game. But after that,
Tuck had a good opening, and Tuck drawing the right cards at that point could have pulled the game away. But the Dusk Witch staying alive and removing the Centurion just made it too hard to come back from, I think.
Indeed. I think maybe like that strange gizmo making it hard for Tuck to play around, because just knowing, right, I can't stop him forging, so I can't put any creatures down because I'll just die to the strange gizmo. I think that must have come into the thinking too.
Yeah, strange gizmo is an interesting pressure card because it means you just can't flood the board with stuff if you don't want it to stick around.
Yeah. Unless you like fair degree of certainty think I can stop this person forging for quite a few turns. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, Strange Gizmo, didn't see it as a big card in the matchup, but actually possibly was the most important card in the game.
Yeah, I think so. And so Mentol now on the bottom of our screen, we've flipped over. We have the Agent of Ratcot from Mentol, and Tuck has switched over to Sorrow of Vapid Zone Boulevard.
So Ratcot is the one that could do a big too much to protect turn if Mentol gets a nice draw order.
Indeed, but Tuck double dab, so
yeah.
I see Paraguardian coming down first. Very nice card, 6 power, 1 armor. I think another very prime example of kind of the Saurian thing of
dab straight away.
Yeah, very happy with that.
And then a 3-power elusive with a Dusk Runner on it, so that's Reap Steel.
I think that's an Opportunist, not a Dusk Runner.
Oh, sorry.
No, not a problem. And yeah, but we are going to see pair of Sanitation Engineers and an Edai. Sanitation Engineer, an interesting card. Reap, discard a card. You know, not always the best card, but can be kind of handy. It's a bit of a double-edged sword often.
Yeah, I've never got that much use out of it, I have to say.
I think it's in a set where you've got stuff like, say, Wormhole Technicians and things like that have much better Reap effects. It kind of makes Sanitation Engineer look a bit kind of like pale by comparison.
Yeah, I wonder if it could have maybe been a taunt card or something and just given it a bit more usefulness.
Yeah, maybe Hazardous 1, yeah. Maybe upped it from Hazardous 1 to like a Hazardous 2 could have been a bit nicer. And we see a tempting offer. I think maybe you return the Paraguardian here. I'd agree with that. But Tuck getting off to a fast start with that Dark Ember Vault. Got to be very happy with this.
Yeah, it's just going to make that board so hard to remove because everything's going to have a bit of extra power.
Yeah, we see the Daughter coming down. Going to be drawing Mentol some extra cards. Entropic Swirl on the old Bruno. Getting Mentol some of that sweet, sweet Ember. Discards a Breaker Hill. And discards that Paraguardian that was returned to hand.
Interesting. I guess if it's not a key card, why not?
No. I suppose that
Gets
time
you
to
an
get it
extra
back
draw.
down, get it to reap, it's just going to take so long. You may be just looking for better things. And where are the odds on a sanitation engineer? And we do see the Legion's March coming down. And not going to do much other than get an Ember here. And Console Primus takes Tuck up to 7, but Mental is going to forge his first key.
Interesting.
And despite getting that Dav down so early, Tuck not really managed to take full advantage of it here. Just hasn't drawn the mutants maybe to kind of like start powering through it.
That Ronnie, not what you want to see when you're sat
Oh,
on
and he just got
7.
a 7, no. And got Bren the Fanatic though. Bren the Fanatic gonna go up to, but then the Trust no one to bring him back down. So roller coaster of Ember here.
Yeah, that was.
And the Oubliette to purge at Consul Primus.
Simon probably not doing much in this match. There's a lot of stuff in Tuck's deck you don't want to put back on top of his deck.
Definitely don't know. And we're going to see that Miasma Bomb. So very helpful there. Going to be able to potentially stop Mentol from forging a key. And yep, going back up to 7 there for Tuck. And Mentol going to go with Logos, warding that Daughter. Very astute, keeping that hand nice and big for Mentol. And the Sanitation Engineer.
Yeah, especially the extra draws are going to make that Sanitation Engineer a lot more useful as well.
Yeah, really filter out any cards that you're just not needing, such as a Chant of Hubris.
Yeah, it's doing nothing right now, is it?
No, not at all. Thorium Plasmate probably going to destroy that. Yep, that Bonithing. And Mentol back up to check on 7 here.
Able to steal 2 again when Tuck was on 7.
Yeah, we're going to see Saurian here. So probably not going to see that second Dav then yet, because we already played the Citizen Tricks, unless he's drawn it. But Faust the Great, increasing that key cost, stopping Mentol from forging. Got to be happy with that. Interesting went for the Exalt here. With having the Exalt on the Citizen Tricks from coming in, I maybe would have considered just not bothering. You've already knocked your opponent off check. But
yeah,
you know, it's kind of giving your opponent more chance to get that Ember. Going for
it's one of those things that maybe you would do when you're ahead, but not so much when you're behind.
You see that Red Gallum is going to knock Tuck off check, and a Phalanx Strike here.
Yeah.
So I think Citizen Tricks and that Boss Zarek could be going away. Maybe the Faust the Great. I'm not sure. A lot of targets to go for, to be honest. We obviously the Faust the Great. And it's real.
Considering where to go with the next one.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to exalt that Daughter, and I maybe go Citizen Tricks. Or maybe Boss Zarek, actually, because you know Tuck's going to want to go to a Shadow's Turn vaguely soon to take advantage of that Miasma Bomb. So. And Bren the Fanatic, of course, stealing 3, getting up to 10.
I do actually wonder why the Exalt didn't go on the Brand, because, you know, you want to exalt the stuff your opponent doesn't want to destroy, but that makes a lot of sense now.
But yeah, we're going to see that Munchling coming down, capturing 1. We see another one. I'm going to Sanitation Engineer killed by that Mutagenic Serum's damage icon. Autoencoder capturing another one. And third Mutagenic Serum. Or second Mutagenic Serum with another capture as well. Titan Engineer.
And a 5-power Munchling is a very nice card.
Yeah, and I've got to assume that Titan Engineer was drawn after the 2 Munchlings off of the Dav draw there. So I would think you'd put it between those creatures and increase that key cost. But Mentol onto his second key. Tuck on 8 Ember though. So I think that Retagallum would have to be used to knock Tuck off of check here. But Mentol maybe just going to allow him to forge a key. And just going to want to advance his own situation further. We shall see. We are going to see Shadows.
Yeah, 2 keys ahead. A lot of stuff on the board. Could stop Tuck forging.
Probably that Dark Ember Vault.
Oh,
Hawks the Miasma Bomb.
Yeah. At this stage in the game, that makes a lot of sense. Earlier, you want to take one of the Davs out. But when you're trying to go into check for your 3rd key, get rid of the way they've got stopping you.
Yeah, returning that Munchling with the 2 captured on it to the top of the deck and reaping to go to 6. Chimera Eclipse as well. Oof. This is brutal. Tuck is going to force a key. And does he have a way to stop the key being forged? We see a Citizen Tricks come down. Dark Ember Vault's going to draw. Going to get the second Citizen Tricks, which is returned by the Chimera Eclipse. So it is knocking Mentol off of that key.
A bit longer,
Dark Centurion to capture 1. And Dark Centurion is a mutant. I totally forgotten that. So he's going to draw off the Dark Ember Vault with that too.
Yeah, and this is going to be a big turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. At this stage, again, you're late in the game. There's no
Yeah,
point in holding those theorems back for something else. This
yeah,
is you've got to just go do as much on each turn as you can now.
exactly. Yeah, and using Munchling to fight the daughter. Maybe we'd have fought with the boss Zarek first, and then. No, he's going to fight Simon. Yep, doesn't want things returned. Doesn't want that Ember going
Yeah,
back as easily.
makes a lot of sense.
Very sensible.
And discarded Zenzi, which again, not going to do anything, even if you get to play it
No,
at this
not going to be
stage.
able to get there in the middle at all. And oh, that's
Ooh, tribute. This
tribute.
could be it.
Oh
This could
no,
be all
is this
over.
going to be? I think it
Yeah,
might with that.
the
With
golden spiral as well.
yeah,
Surely it's in hand.
and Axie McGrisk. It's just. Oh, I just wanted to keep the pterodactyl alive. Probably. Yep, there we go. That's
Oh
six
wow.
Ember.
Yeah,
Brute. And the Red
that's
Gallum as well. Oh,
probably the game. Yeah,
that's
that's
gross.
didn't even have to kill the pterodactyl. You must be
No,
pleased.
I'm thrilled. Yeah, my boy is alive. Can I say I love a pterodactyl? It's a great card. But yeah, I think because you got to think next turn as well. You use that pterodactyl to kill, say, both Shrixes and Dark Centurion, if assuming that Tuck can get out of this. Faust the Great, which he
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
Knocks it up,
Has to exalt it.
and then he's going to
That's
reap.
fine.
But I think this is going to be shifting the deck chairs on the Titanic a bit here because you've got to
Yeah, I
think
think if
that.
Tuck was on 2 keys, you could maybe see a way back with a turn like that, but he's got to find so many turns now.
Yeah, and with that pterodactyl, you could say kill the Faust, the Zarek, and then kill Faust and the Zarek, and then say if you wanted to get a bit to fight the Ret Gallum into something, you could then kill a Citizen Shrix, get some damage other places. Obviously, the Mutagenic
Again,
Serum.
serum. Why not at this point? You've got to do everything you can.
Yeah, fighting the pterodactyl there, maybe would have gone for the Ret Gallum instead, but I suppose just thinking you want to like minimize the amount of fights that pterodactyl can do.
Yeah, with the spiral out, that pterodactyl being used twice is going to
And
be
warding the Faust the Great.
very nice.
Yeah, pretty happy to see that, but I think you're still going to see, we're going to see Saurian here for a Syrian Legionnaire. Oh, to ward the pterodactyl.
Oh, the exact thing Tuck was trying to avoid was the pterodactyl being able to fight a lot, and that is now what's going to happen.
And he's going to take down that Citizen Shrix, and because they're all elusive because of the boss Zarek. So probably they're going to fight again and still get 3 Ember off that Citizen Shrix, and those two, and that Dark Centurion.
Back up to 12, going up to 13.
Yeah, and I got to think this has got to be curtains for Tuck here. I can't see how you get back from this, but you're going to see Logos. Maybe Tuck has a way to fight back. See the Titan Engineer come down. The Munchling captures 1, gets up to 11. Neurosiphon to steal.
No, Odoak.
Oh no, because the Odoak left Logica.
Yeah.
I'm going to draw with the Infomorph and also draw for the Infomorph's bonus icon.
It's a big turn.
Cyberclone.
It's just all, a turn or two too late, isn't it? This turn, 3 turns ago, and the game could shift quite easily.
And there it is. Yeah, just couldn't quite.
That's such a shame.
Yeah, and even with that, Neurosiphon still wouldn't have been enough to stop the Forge for the third key. But yeah, I think despite getting the Dark Hammer Vault, I think Tuck just couldn't get that kind of early board presence he really needed to kind of start to run away with this game.
Yeah, I think he found the vault, but didn't find many mutants early on.
No, he really didn't. And stuff like the autoencoder could have kind of helped with that. Maybe he kind of discarded some cards that were less useful. But yeah, look like maybe we're having a bit of fight back towards the end, but I think just too little, too late, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame. It shows you, I think, that game was winnable for Tuck, but just the draw order maybe let him down a bit.
Indeed, yeah. And I think Pterodactyl MVP, obviously.
The saving the Pterodactyl with the 6 Emperor. I mean, that was the point where the game really disappeared for Tuck, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Being able to kill that Shrix, being able to kill that Dark Centurion, getting all that Ember back.
But yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like you want to prepare, even though you're going to check by a huge amount. It doesn't seem that important to keep the Pterodactyl alive at that point because you're so well into check. But just doing that extra bit to keep the Pterodactyl alive means you're sort of prepared for anything that might happen on your next turn.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, well, I think this is a great game played by both players. Having a bit of a chat afterwards here, but I think we'll leave them to that. But yeah, I think really good game from both. You know, I think just it's very fast Keyforge played, especially in the first game. You know, really kind of like typical kind of like very fast rushing Keyforge played very well. This one the second game much more my kind of game. You know, big boards, lots of reaping, lots of stealing, lots of capturing. Very happy to see this kind of
Yeah, a lot
Keyforge
of
being
amber
played.
was being swapped around in that second game.
Indeed, indeed. But yes, I think we'll wrap it up for there. So thank you very much for listening, everyone, and thank you very much to Rufino for jumping into the breach and commentating today. It was very nice having a different co-commentator.
No problem.
And yeah, and I'm sure we'll have you back on soon for whenever I record another one of Team Screech and Bombs games. 'Cause, you know,
Yeah, I'm up for it.
yeah, definitely. But thank you very much. I have been David Baron von Fabulous Lark, and this has been my co-commentator, Joe Rufino. And thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.
Right.